Hello folks, my name is Paddy, and in this video I'm going to be retrofitting a multi-point door lock onto a solid teak front door. Now this is the door in question here. This door is at least 30 years old, I would say, and is more than likely the original door that was fitted when the house was being built. The door is in exceptionally good condition for its age. It was well looked after by its owners down through the years, but there is a slight bow or warp in the bottom third of the door. So what's happening is it's bowed back in towards the interior of the house. So basically what that means is the door isn't touching fully against the seal on the door frame and on that bottom section of the door, so that in turn leads to a draft. The reason for that is because there's only one locking point on this door. This was how it was done back in the day, as far as I'm aware. I've seen lots and lots of them done like this. Maybe it wasn't security wasn't a big deal back in that time, I don't know, but yeah, there's loads of them around still, and this is one of them. So the locking point is a night latch or a rim lock, and it's fitted at about shoulder height. So what happens in a situation like this is, because the locking point is so high up, there's nothing at the bottom half and beyond to keep the door straight and pulled in. So over time, with moisture and humidity and heat and all that jazz, the door, because it's wood, will tend to do what it wants, and it will warp and twist and bow. But this one, as I said, is in very, very, very good condition. There's only a very slight bow at the bottom section of it. So I'm going to fit the multi-point lock into the door, and that's going to solve this problem. With the locking points, there's one up towards the top, one towards the bottom, and then a latch and a deadbolt in the middle. So it's going to pull the door in along the whole length of the door. So that's going to solve the draft problem, and it's also going to add additional security to this door. So I'm just going to get straight into it. I'm just going to take the door off the hinges, and I'm going to put it up onto my trestles and get started. I just want to talk really quickly about the router bit, or the router cutter, that I'm going to be using in the router. It's a special router bit called an Espagnolette cutter, and you're probably wondering what an Espagnolette is. So this is a window Espagnolette, or a spag. Everyone just calls them spags because Espagnolette is not the easiest thing to say. So a window Espagnolette, and the vast majority of multi-point door locks operate on the same principle, same operation. So in this case, with the window spag, you put your window handle here into the gearbox section of it here, and when you turn your window handle, the rod here at the back moves back and forth, and that locks and unlocks your window. So what this router cutter does is it cuts a channel the exact width and depth of the faceplate of the lock, and at the same time it cuts a channel for this rod at the back, and that is the most important part, because if it was just screwed on without that channel at the back, as the screw tightens, the faceplate would pinch that rod at the back and it wouldn't move. That the roller in this case would not move, and yeah, so it's very important. The Espagnolette cutter is made by Trend, and it is pretty expensive as far as router bits go. It was, I think, £110 sterling when I got it at the time. But to me, it's worthwhile because I do enough of these that it just saves so much time, and it does a perfect job every time. You could, if you were very good at woodworking or very good with a router, use a straight bit or some other form of straight cutting bit and cut the two channels separately. So that is another option you could do if you want to do it, attempt this.